For as long as I can remember living with my parents, there has always been a snowman in my back garden that literally never melts. Even throughout the summer and the humid hot air, the snowman in my garden always stays up. Our house is separate from the other houses and we really don't get many visitors coming into my house, so nobody really notices the snowman that never melts. My parents built the snowman on their first year of being married, and ever since then, the snowman has always stayed up. In the summer, the snowman looks like a sore thumb and a complete outcast within the fun and joy of the bright yellow hot sun. How it stays up throughout the hot season is completely bizarre, and I sometimes just stare at it as it has that effect on you. It sort of became part of the family, and we just came to accept it as it is, and my parents, as well as me, never tried to take it down. Even in the rain, the snowman stays strong and doesn't ever melt or even die. For 20 years, this snowman has been standing in my garden just standing still. Another unusual aspect about the snowman was that my parents used fruits and vegetables to be used as the snowman's facial features like the eyes, ears, and nose. The fruits and vegetables on the snowman have never rotted away, or even degraded in the last 20 years. This snowman is definitely something unique, and when spring, summer, and autumn go by, the snowman becomes useful again, and makes everything more Christmassy. I remember putting a broken bulb on the snowman's body, and it literally started to light up. I was thoroughly shocked by this, and the science of this was clearly upside down. How on earth did a broken light bulb light up? I sometimes see insects, squirrels, slugs, rats, and some birds sitting on the snowman. When I try to take them off the snowman, they instantly die, and rot so quickly that they must have been dead for months. Even in the coldest of winters when it's snowing heavily, I try to make another snowman next to the first original one in my garden, and they all melt away instantly like it was summer. It's always strange that this unusual snowman right in the middle of our garden seems to be immune or immortal to everything it's surrounded by. One day on a snowy winter's day, I decided to take a piece of the immortal snowman and I threw it at my father. He laughed and then all of a sudden he fell to the ground. I managed to drag him to his bedroom with the help of my mother. We didn't call the ambulance right away because we didn't think that they would believe us when we told them. My father started to puke snow and his eyes were both snow white. And then he started to speak. "I'm always still throughout the year. And now I can move." Then my father started to move around randomly, and even when he went to the toilet, his urine and excretion were all made of snow. His skin was ice cold, and me and my mother left him as he was for a while. Then my father threw a piece of that snowman at my mother, and she too was now infected. I tried destroying that snowman, but my parents would always rebuild him again. But things became normal again when both my parents went back to normal randomly out of the blue. Both of them don't seem to remember much, but that snowman is still here in the garden, every single day, throughout the hot and cold days. Here's a story that happened to a friend of mine back in December of 2012. We'll call him Henry. So around the holidays, Henry was looking for some extra cash to get gifts for the family and decided to get a seasonal job at a department store. Everything seemed to be going fine at first. Staff was great, pay was good for the hours he worked, and the job itself wasn't difficult. But about 2 weeks into working there, he met a customer who seemed a little bit off. While stocking the shelves, this customer approached Henry and asked where he can find a wireless speaker. Henry pointed him in the right direction, but the customer still stayed making small talk.
"So, how's everything going?"
"Alright, and how about yourself?"
"Pretty good here, just buying presents off my checklist."
"Well, okay. If you need any help, just let us know. The speakers are over there. You can probably find a good one for about $10. The customer stood silently for about 5 seconds before saying, "Okay, thank you." The next day, Henry came in and noticed from a distance what appeared to be the same customer from yesterday. He quickly dismissed it as his imagination and went right back to working around the store. When it was time to leave, Henry noticed a car that was following him for quite a while. Every turn Henry made, so did the other car, and it almost followed him right to his house, but then as Henry reached his living area, the car simply continued driving off into the night. Reaching the 3rd week of December, and the final week of working at the store, the customer Henry had met came in to make a return. Henry told the customer he's not in charge of doing returns and the customer needs to go to the front of the store and ask for assistance. At this point, the customer didn't say a word, and instead left silently, leaving with anger. When Henry got home, he decided to watch some TV and let his mind rest. On the news, there was a police search going on for a man described exactly as the customer Henry had been dealing with. He was wanted for attempted murder and was also considered to be insane. There was also a number to call in case anyone had any possible information about the suspect, to which Henry was ready to call right before this happened. Suddenly, the power went out. Then immediately after that, glass had broken from somewhere on the other side of the house. With no power, this meant Henry was pretty blind and couldn't find his phone to call the police. Footsteps were coming towards the living room where Henry was, And at that moment, Henry grabbed whatever he could feel and threw it towards the sound.
Surprise!
Henry was given enough time to run, and he ran towards the opposite end of the room. He kept feeling around for a doorknob only to hear the footsteps get louder each second. Thankfully, before it was too late, he found the door and ran out shouting for help. His neighbor was home and quickly phoned the police for him. The police arrived in less than 10 minutes and began searching around the house but found nothing. When Henry was questioned, he told the officers the power went out, and that's when he heard the glass break from somewhere around the house. As it turns out, the cables which gave his house power were cut. The police tried finding any signs of breaking and entering but found nothing. All they found was a broken glass cup. Henry was still shaken and scared about the whole situation. The person who came into his house was still out there, and the police were stumped as to how he got inside. Henry never saw the customer from the store again, but he also never found out who the intruder was either. He moved in the upcoming year during April because he still didn't feel safe. Where he moved though is unknown, even to most of his friends. To this day, Henry has deactivated all of his social media accounts and has never made any new ones. We last saw him in late 2013, but after that, we've never heard from him again. We can only assume Henry is still doing okay, and will one day come back to the ones who cared about him.